Hey, this video won't be outdated in 10 years. Gasoline, petrol, fuel. This substance is the driving force behind one of the world's greatest, or worst if you're an environmentalist, inventions, the internal combustion engine. And while gas cars are probably in their waning years, far removed from their heyday of, 2017, they're still everywhere. But how exactly does filling up my tank with a funny smelling oil refining byproduct get me from A to B and back? The answer is more interesting than you think. Probably. As a disclaimer, automotive engineering is very much a fluid field, so I'm mostly talking about systems that are modern and not really any of the older stuff or the emergent technologies. So, as gas sits in a fuel tank, some of it is being sent by a fuel pump forward towards the engine. Thereafter, all the action relies on a simple but cool little cycle in each cylinder, where a piston and spark plug sit. Now, the exact structure of this cycle depends on how many strokes a piston performs within the cycle, one stroke being one movement up or down of the piston. You can have a 4-stroke, 2-stroke, heck, even a whopping 6-stroke engine. But the 4-stroke is the most common, so we're just going to use that. The crankshaft, started by the starter, pushes the piston in a cylinder up towards the top where the cycle begins. Because the cylinder is sealed except for intake and exhaust valves, when the piston moves down and the intake valve is opened, a vacuum is created which sucks air into the cylinder from the intake. Now, at this point, fuel can either have been already mixed with the air as a mist before the air is sucked into the cylinder, or it can be injected into the cylinder directly. Either way, this stage fills the cylinder with a fuel-air mixture. This whole process is known as the intake or induction stage. Next, after the piston has bottomed out, the rotation of the crankshaft pushes the piston back up. This compresses the air-fuel mixture in preparation for combustion, and unsurprisingly, this stage is known as the compression stage. As the piston reaches the top again, the spark plug connected to the car's electrical system sparks and ignites the volatile mixture. The force of the combustion and expanding exhaust gases push the piston back down, which continuously rotates the crankshaft. This is the combustion stage. The last stage, the exhaust stage, sees the piston return back to the top of the cylinder, pushing the exhaust fumes through the exhaust valve and out into the open air, and your lungs and stuff. So the entire purpose of everything that goes on in the cylinders is ultimately to turn the crankshaft. But the crankshaft is a singular structure that may not even rotate parallel to the axles. How does it deliver its motion to the wheels? Well, there's actually this really cool gear system, shown here, where the crankshaft's rotation rotates this smaller gear, which in turn rotates this larger gear connected to the wheel in a perpendicular axis. Now, there's a lot more going on here, I skipped the entire transmission and differential systems, but this is the very basic, oversimplified mechanism behind gas cars. So yeah, now hopefully you can appreciate that anytime you sit in a running, fuel-driven automobile, you're 4 feet away from a box full of a bazillion tiny explosions. Have a good one!